LLC, all of them.
Well, he puts on his financial disclosure that if you say, it's like something like, it's like 100, it was a 150-page disclosure. It wasn't a tax return, actually it was bigger than a tax return, because he basically had to enumerate every single LLC that he had. If you're a real estate person, everything is done via LLC, so yeah. I'm sorry.
Okay. There's one thing I was always concerned when it comes to finance, and one of my concerns because I work in a company, I began to raise questions about our workers' union, teachers' unions, when finding out that most of our checks are deducted to the union fund, unions deducting. Do they use that to finance politicians?
Well, no, yeah, unions, they take dues, and most of these organizations have a PAC, and oftentimes they'll filter some of those funds to a PAC. Now, not only that, not just unions, but then also financial institutions, sometimes their employees above a certain level get a portion of their money taken from them to also be put to the PAC. So if you're a senior vice president, managing director, or something like that, one thing I've seen, the average worker, they don't have that, but for a certain level, sometimes those people may be asked to contribute a percentage of their income to a PAC, again, to support politicians. But what politicians the organization supports, that you have less of a say. So for a union, I mean, actually, ironically, even Tom Napoli says he comes from a union household. I actually was a member of a union. I was a member of the United Food and Commercial Workers Union when I was, very young, because I worked at a supermarket, even in Atlanta, Georgia, in Roswell, Georgia. So I was a union member, and they used to take the dues away from me, and then whatever those dues, whichever politicians those dues are used to support, the members don't really have a say. So it's not like, unless, again, I haven't been in a union in a while, but it's not like, they may have a meeting that says, oh, we're going to endorse X, Y, Z, or do you support or do you not support? At the end of the day, they have the money, they'll support whomever. And that's why sometimes members in unions who lean to the right, or actually a lot of them increasingly so, if they are the old sort of blue dog Democrats or more the traditional old style Democrats who, particularly since the Democratic Party has moved so far to the left with all of the socialists basically over, I guess it's not wrong to use that word since they themselves describe themselves as socialists. So since the socialists have taken over, it's no longer a slur, it's something to be happy about. The social democrats, I guess. For a lot of in the Democratic Party, they may not never change party, but they won't necessarily vote Democrats, which is one thing I think we're seeing in New York, in a lot of places. So we often, one of the things we're saying as part of the statewide slate, we're saying we don't expect simply a red wave. It's not about being a red wave that everybody all of a sudden becoming a Republican. It's more of a common sense wave, because for a lot of Democrats, you're seeing what is going on here. And like I said, Kathy Hochul picked a crook to be a lieutenant governor, knowing the chances are very high that a Democratic governor will likely be replaced by a lieutenant governor sometime soon, because it's happened for every single governor we basically had. Every single governor we basically had has had to be replaced by their lieutenant governor. So instead you picked a guy who, already had a questionable, shady background, and who I guess wanted to defund the police. So.
Yeah, well, definitely with the union thing. When I ran for state senate in 2008, I asked for my union's endorsement. I was running against Kevin Parker. They said, oh, no. They didn't want to speak with me. They didn't want to, they could take my money, of course, but they didn't want to speak with me or set anything up for an interview or anything like that at all. Oh, we already committed to Kevin Parker and all. How nice. Here you have a union member, which I'm still a part of for 20 years. And I used to be a member of the DC 37 years ago when I worked at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. And then now, that's what they do. They steal, take your money. There should be a provision. I don't know if there is. Is there a provision where you could say as a union member, I don't want my money to go to your little PAC fund? I don't think there is.
I think it's just a paycheck deduction.
That was a government union, right?
Well, Teamsters 237.
Yeah, my grandmother was.
So you're
I
talking.
get it now, because I'm in 177, and most of our union dues went, because I'm from the city of Jersey, they use the fund for Phil Murphy's re-election.
Of course.
Are you, do you work for a private company?
You work for a private company?
No, I work for UPS.
It's a private
Well, that is a
company.
private
It's a private company. Okay, there's two kinds of shops. There's a union shop and an agency shop. In an agency shop, everybody pays dues. In a union shop, only union members pay dues. So what I would suggest is find out technically if your company is a union shop or an agency shop. If it's a union shop, you only pay dues if you're a member of the union. If it's an agency shop, everybody's required to pay dues, everybody.
Well, he does pay, I think, dues, he says, but he just doesn't want necessarily his dues money to go to the PAC.
Did you formally join the union?
I joined the union, yes.
Okay, well, that's it, you joined the union.
So, yeah, so as far as I know, in most of these unions, you really have no control over what they do with their funds.
Do we have any more questions?
Sorry, and if you had a question, I know.
Do you use your Spanish language background as an advantage to when you speak to?
I have not as much as I wanted to yet, but
I'm curious, you know, because I honestly believe that the minority, so-called minority, you know, Latino and Black Republican conservative candidates can really help will be the key to swinging the country to be more.
well, I went
Because
to
there's an identification.
Yes.
I was a few weeks ago at a rally, a Zeldin rally in Brentwood. And it was organized by the Republican National Hispanic Assembly. So it was in Brentwood, Long Island, which is a very Hispanic area. Right there by Colombian Bakery, we had it. And I had a good time. I mean, it ended up being that I was the one who kind of showed up. A lot of the people didn't come because they busted up a bunch of protesters who they paid, it turns out, $100 a pop. Wow, not bad. So they were in a bunch, but it's funny because I think I might have seen like 3 of them that maybe had like Spanish, you know, they were Latin. The rest were very, no offense, very sort of, you know, I'm pretty pale myself, so very pasty white, you know, progressives. Mostly now, exactly. So I had a good time. So I got up there and then I started telling my thing about diversity, making sure they really heard it really loud in English. And then I went and said it in Spanish, the whole thing. And then they all of a sudden got really quiet because they had no idea what I was saying. It was great. You know, they were all Latino, they could have probably been heckling, but they had no idea what I was saying. And then of course I went back to my English and then I went and told them, again, I had a good time with that, because I didn't think they were going to be violent or anything, but I said as well to Latino community, African American community, Asian community, who are increasingly seeing that they're being, you know, they're marginalized, but they're being marginalized by the Democratic Party. They're being marginalized because they're too successful.
Yeah.
And so telling them, listen, the louder they get, the more they scream, the more afraid they're showing you that they are of you, or the more afraid they're showing you of the message we're bringing to you. Why? Because if they had anything to counter that message, they would simply provide better ideas. But they can't, so the only way that they can get across is to try to silence you, to try to shut you up. And then and it's funny, I said, but you have all these guys over here protesting, you know, they're not Hispanic, you know, they're not from around here, they're not Hispanic, they don't even speak Spanish.
Right.
But, you know, they're the ones who are coming into Latino neighborhoods to try to tell you how you should think and how you should vote. And yes, and for example, when I was asked, well, you know, controller's race, frankly, is one of the toughest races to get really interest in, raise money for, because again, even though that person not controls, but can exert influence over $500 billion of the state's monies, you know, people don't know about it, so they say, how can you get some attention? Well, I said, I'm not, you know, as a conservative, I'm not one to necessarily play into identity politics, but I'm very proud of who I am, so if I can use the fact that I'm Latino to get, and speak Spanish, to get more interest, I will. And in fact, I noticed that Tom DiNapoli was very hardcore in putting a lot of pictures of himself at the Puerto Rican Day Parade, because I'm Puerto Rican, I guess. And I don't think I've ever seen that, and I've heard other people say, I've never seen Tom DiNapoli campaign in the Hispanic community as much as he's doing now. And then I saw that he put hashtag Que Bonita Bandera, which in Spanish is actually Que Bonita Bandera with an A, which means what a beautiful flag. And I said, you know, you can't even pander correctly. Yeah, you know, and I wanted to say something, my wife said, no, chill. But it's kind of the thing, because that's what the left does. They pander, they take lots of nice pictures and they do things, but at the end of the day, if they believe they have you in their pocket, they're gonna take you for granted.
Oh, yeah.
And they're not gonna listen to what you say. And what worries them now is that the Latino community is swinging, the Asian community is swinging, and even the African American community, who has been most loyal to them over time, that's also scraping a bit. And when you mention Maya Flores in that border town, one thing which was interesting, that even in the 2020 election, when you look at the 12 or 13 counties throughout the country that tend to be the typical, the counties that tend to be the biggest swing counties in the whole country, the most Hispanic county in all of the United States, which is like 85–90% Hispanic down by the border, that county actually voted overwhelmingly for Donald Trump in 2020. So if anything, if that was any indication of maybe some things to come, I mean, in particular, look, there was also another one, Yelsey something, I forget her name, or Yesley. But you are definitely seeing that.
I want to tell you, I read, there was a woman who was on 15th Street at the Armory giving out for the Democrat, a judge. So
Mhm.
I said, oh, I'm a Trumpy, you know, and she says, me too, me too. And I'm disappointed. She's from Red Hook. She's Spanish or Puerto Rican. She said she was going to come with her husband and some friends. I thought they were going to be here. She's not, but Red Hook has a lot of, and she said she's very active in Red Hook. And her name is Mary, and I thought she would be here.
I
She'll
campaigned,
hopefully see it on video at least.
I campaigned in Red Hook in 2004, the first time I ever ran for
You
anything.
can just go
Take her
there.
number.
I actually ran for office in 2004, and part of the area that was in the district was Red Hook. And that area was entirely, it was like, you know, it's like being in parks. I mean, it was basically very white progressives, you know, it wasn't like minorities or anything like that. It was very white progressives with a nice little mom and pop shops, very nice, don't get me wrong, it's very beautiful. But that's what it was, you know, because that's, I guess that's the gentrification that they talk about.
Well, they love them so much.
Yeah.
You know, they go into their neighborhoods, make sure the rents are too damn high.
So then they have to move.
And so they can get the hell out of their neighborhood. They love them so much. I love you guys. I love you. I'm going to move into your neighborhood and we're going to make coffee shops and we're going to have a good old grand time. We'll have street fairs and everything. And oh, you can't afford the rent. Get the hell out of here. But we love you on the way out. Vote for us.
It's just like
God
Manhattan.
help us.
Yeah. Well, you know, they're parts of the Bushwick, where they go to Bush. It's interesting though, because I live in the Bay Ridge Tucker Heights area. That's a beautiful area to live, raise a family, things like that. During the pandemic, a lot of people are going there because there was actually some activity there. But for whatever reason, I always thought it was odd. How come you don't have more people moving in there? I'm thinking maybe they don't think it's ethnic enough, or that it's not woke enough for them. And I'm going, it's not just Italians there. Or, you know, first of all, nowadays well, first of all, one of the biggest populations of Middle Eastern people there. Maybe they think they're all Italians, Chinese American, increasingly Hispanic, and also it's a very diverse community as well. But I've always thought it was odd that they don't go there, but no, they want to go to Bushwick, they want to go to these places so they can feel how woke they are. But like you say, then the things get better, or they make everything that's so expensive that then people have to move out.
Any other questions? Because we're about to conclude the meeting. Any others? No? All right. I want to thank everyone. If you have any closing statements.
Thank you so much for your time and for your, for your engagement and listening to me.
So what can we do for you?
Oh, one thing,
Oh.
yes. Please check out my website. It's it's just Rodriguez, so RODRIGUEZFORNY. So Rodriguez4ny.com. It's my website. You can check out my things. You can, if you want to make a contribution, I would appreciate it. But also you can follow me on social media, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. It's basically Rodriguez, again with a G, the number 4 NYS. And I think probably some of you, I know he's been following me,
Yeah.
so I'm putting stuff out constantly all the time in terms of a lot of these artists that come out, on the police things that come out, and just certain things of economics and investments, just things really pertinent to New York and what also the statewide slate is doing, and just the Republican conservative movement here in New York. But I would love for you to follow me in my FB page. Give a click. We just got over 2,000 followers, which is great.
Well, yeah, so what I'll do is, you text me all your links for
Yeah.
Facebook.
So then also go to the right one, because I think some of the things that have been linked, it was last year's.
Yeah, no, I mean,
So I'll send you
text me
a
the thing, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna put it on our Facebook pages, and then we're gonna send it in our email once the video is up. We'll put the links to your Twitter page, your page, for, you know, the campaign, if you wanna make a contribution, and we'll send that in that email with today's video, once we upload that. But before that, we'll also put it on our Facebook pages and our Twitter account.
Yeah, so we'll share that and just spread the word, If there's other people, other groups you know that would want to hear me,
Yeah.
please let me know. I know the last time I came here last year, there were a couple of people who were telling me you should contact this person, this person, this person. Now we're early enough on in the whole campaign. We've got about, obviously less than 5 months, just over 4 months left, with the first set of primaries going to be done on Tuesday. And I am doing this full time. It's not sort of a side thing. It's a real serious campaign for the whole statewide slate. We're really kind of pushing it forward. So we're not just here at stand-ins. We're really, I think we do see a lot of opportunity in New York State, the likes of which we haven't seen since George Pataki got elected the first time, because it's the feedback we're getting. And it's never an easy thing. It's always a slog, obviously, for Republicans or conservatives here. But the Democrats seem to want to try to make things easier for us. So at least they work making things easier for us.
Are you supporting any of the 4 gubernatorial candidates?
Well, I am officially part of the endorsed statewide slate, which is Lee Zeldin.
Oh, okay.
But, like I was mentioning earlier, I know who I voted for, but I wouldn't presume to tell any of you who to vote for on Tuesday. I think, frankly, we have great candidates running. Just across the board, yes, in the gubernatorial side. I know who I favor, but we have great candidates in the gubernatorial side, and we have great candidates just sort of across the board. I think the state party and a lot of the county parties have done a really good job of trying to really recruit some good people. I mean, when I was brought to here, from what I was told, you know, we actually vetted a whole lot of people before we got to you. So, for good or not, you have me. and yes, so I think we really do have great chance to make some great returns. And in fact, we have to, because bottom line is, if we don't have a change in Albany come November, and perhaps in the presidency in 2 more years, well, for us, from our New York vantage point, a lot more people are going to continue leaving. We've had a lot of people leaving the state, and we don't want to lose good people. We want to have a place where we can raise our families, retire here if we want to. You know, it's really heartbreaking to see what's happening to the state.
Are you been opposed in the primary?
No, no. In fact, the only primary from the statewide level is for governor, but lieutenant governor, attorney general, controller, and then Joe Pinion, who's running against Chuck Schumer, we're all unopposed. So at this, you know, we've both been fully endorsed by both the Republican Party and the Conservative Party, and we hope to have the Independence Party line as well.
All right.
I'm not sure if that's settled yet or not, but we expect to.
Well, thank you all for everything. Shut that off. Thank you so